Well, hello there, everybody. 'Tis I, Dave Murray, the big guy at Mayniax Branding. And today, we're going to talk about the importance of story for every level of entrepreneur, solopreneur, business owner you are. So, without further ado, and without me just waxing like an idiot, let's get started. This first part's for all you solopreneurs out there, whether you've been at it for 20 minutes, 20 hours, 20 days, 20 months, or 20 years. You've been trying to crack the code and you can't quite get there and you don't know what's going on. Number one, I think you know that I'm going to say you probably haven't branded very well, especially if it's been 20 years and you haven't done much. That's okay. I'm here to fix that. But if you're really not doing well, you don't know what's going on, you haven't given people enough of an opportunity to relate to you, you haven't given people enough of an opportunity to see your why or to see your vision for the future. And part of that, you haven't let them get to know who you are. Your brand story as a solopreneur is your story, period. Think of it as what started to give you the idea of the vision you want to see in the world. What started to give you that idea of the why. And you start there and you just start moving forward. You talk a little bit, I mean, it's an autobiographical deal. You talk about your story, who you are, why you're doing what you're doing, what your vision is, the mission, all that stuff. That's important because that's what people want to know. I promise you that in the future, you'll talk about your product or your service more, but you'll never talk about it more than you'll talk about your brand. And a big selling point of your brand is the story it took you to get where you are today. So there you go. As a solopreneur, that's what you want to go with. That's what you want to start with. That's where your story is. It's your backstory. It's what led you to come up with the idea of what you want to see in the future. And now, off to the entrepreneurs. This part's for all you nutty entrepreneurs, whether you've been at it for 21 minutes, 21 hours, 21 days, 21 months, or 21 years. I don't know why I added one there. It just seemed like something to do, I suppose. Here's your deal. You've got multiple businesses going. Maybe you don't even have an employee. Maybe you don't have any employees. Maybe you don't have 20, and whatever the deal is. Maybe it's still you and somehow you've got 4 or 5 businesses going. Guess what? Your story, which, houses, like I said, for the solopreneurs, your vision, your mission, your why, all that good stuff is the same across all your different brands. Because the fact is, I can sit here and I can talk about my vision to make it so that entrepreneurs can make the world a much happier place based on what they can do in their own communities, based on the financial power that they'd be able to wield if they can really grow their businesses, all that good stuff. And I can talk about that. And I will talk about my vision for Mayniax branding. But the deal is, with those kinds of visions, for me, what I know best to make that happen, to make that vision happen, is helping people with branding. Now, you've split off into 4 or 5 brands as an entrepreneur, maybe more, maybe less, and maybe they're all different things. And that's totally cool because if I were to decide to start a bunch of different brands as well, I would still have that same backstory pushing forward because that vision can be accomplished a bunch of ways. I can sit here and I can say branding is highly important, and that's what I know the best. That's how I'm going to help people to push my vision is through branding. But maybe at some point I realize, wow, I know a lot about health, and maybe I can open some restaurants to really push some entrepreneurs or some gyms that are geared towards entrepreneurs. Or maybe I can do this that's geared towards helping entrepreneurs. All that, that's the deal. As an entrepreneur, you've got all these different brands going on, but you can still have the same story. You can still have the same vision, the same mission, all those things. It doesn't change. Now, as you move forward in all those different brands you have, depending on how many employees you end up hiring to help you out with each brand, the story the backstory, I guess, your story doesn't change, but the story of the brand evolves to where you're not the only one pushing this narrative anymore. You're not the only one because you brought in people with your vision and your story and your why to help you push this mission along. So, or this vision along. So now it becomes other people's story as well. Now it becomes what the brand has done here and for these people and how it was able to help out this group and what this person that's involved with the brand was able to do. So if you're an entrepreneur who's been at it for a long time and you've got several people beneath you or as part of your team, never say beneath you. That's a terrible thing. What's wrong with me? That is not leadership, Dave. That's a bad Dave. But anyway, all these people that are working with you to achieve this vision, it's now become a greater part of the story. Your story's the backstory, it's what got the thing kicked off. But their story is what's evolving it towards the vision. So there you go for entrepreneurs. Let's now talk about the business owners. Okay, this one's for all you business owners out there, and I'm up to 22. So whether you've been at it for 22 minutes, 22 hours, 22 days, 22 months, or 22 years, this is for you. So let's talk about the story here when it comes to you guys. Here it is. It's really pretty much the same as entrepreneurs, just condensed to one area. But let's say as a business owner, you're somebody who maybe inherited the business or you took it over from the founders and all that. You want to go back and you want to see what they've got written down about the business. You want to make sure that that story is out there. And if that story isn't written down, if you really can't find a whole lot of great history about the business or the brand beyond the numbers and figures, the story needs to start with you. You need to start saying, okay, what does this business really stand for? What was the vision that we came up with? The fact is, a long time ago, businesses were started simply to fill a need. And while businesses today are still started to fill a need, think of the, I guess, also ran businesses. I am not the first person talking about branding. I'm not the first company in my town talking about branding, and I'm definitely not the only one. So you need to understand that it's very likely you're there in the same capacity. You're not the first plumber. You're not the first general practitioner. You're not the first dentist. You're not the first, I don't know, app creator. You're not the first any of this stuff. Chances are, and I hate to say this because it kind of hurts me when I say it as well, you're not really a visionary. You're somebody who really knows what you're doing in your space, and so you get going, you get cracking with that. And maybe that's how you got to be the business owner. Maybe somebody understood, wow, this person really knows this business, so I'm retiring, I'm promoting them to take over. And that's great. And maybe that happened, and you can call your people and say, or call the previous owner and say, hey, tell me about how this started. But the fact is, today, you need to be more of a brand than just a business that started to fill a need just because there's all kinds of people out there doing what you do. That feels a lot more long-winded than it should have been. But here's the thing. You have to start with the previous owner's story, and if you don't, you start with your story. What got you started in that business? And then you just have to jumpstart. Now, you're pushing a new vision, possibly. You've got to come up with the vision for the business that people can get behind. And now you've got to start hiring people for that. And the people that don't buy into the vision, eventually they'll leave, or they might just, maybe they won't do as great a job because they just don't buy into the vision. They're not such a big fan of what you've put together. Maybe before they just like showing up for the check, and I know, it was a fine job. I like my job. I like my people, but they're not fired up about it because there's nothing bigger than just making the thing or serving the people, whatever the deal is there. I've said in the past that I have worked for places where there was no why, there was no vision, there was simply, take some pictures, will you? All right. I mean, I like the people I worked with, but there was nothing behind why I was there other than I also liked money. Money's a good thing. It helps me buy stuff. So that's it. I hope that's been pretty clear. Business owners, you might not have a story at all that you get to work with. you've got to start making one. And it has to be yours if you can't get a hold of the previous business owner. So keep plugging away. Wow. I feel like I confused me. So make sure if you have any questions or comments or anything like that, put them where you know they got to go, and I'll do what I can to answer them. Whew, that was long winded. So there you go, folks. That was me talking about the importance of story and how your story applies to you and everything else for solopreneurs, for entrepreneurs, for business owners, startups. You know you can find your spot in there somewhere to kind of understand what's going on. So yeah, that's all I got for story, at least for this video. I might have another one because, well, it's me, and I'll definitely have another one for all the Patreon subscribers. Speaking of, I'm still working on making sure that the people that are subscribed to Patreon, the $10 Mayniax tier, knows exactly how to build their own brand. Because the fact is, you're probably not going to want to spend tens of thousands of dollars to have somebody else do it. So check out Patreon, where I'm putting up exclusive how-to videos on how to make your own brand happen. And that's all I got for today. Hope everybody's having fun. Hope everybody's staying safe. Hope everybody's staying healthy. But most importantly, hope everybody's staying gutsy, gang.